Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your co-host, Zeke Smith. Our illustrious host, Jason Lee, is out this week, but we'll see him next time. And we are beyond blessed to be with Mark Bookmyer today, site manager at LyondellBasell and board of directors for the Economic Alliance. Mark, thanks for being with us.
Well, Zeke, thank you very much for asking me to be a part of the podcast. I am honored to be here today.
Great. Well, we're honored to have you. What we like to do is get a little background on you and how you got to the seat you're in today. And I know we were talking before the show, a couple of different groups you're a part of. So let's just talk about that journey. I know we are from the same hometown, the great city of Baytown. So we can start there and kind of where you got to, or how you got to be in the role you're in today with LyondellBasell. So let's go.
Okay, sure. And I think, if you ask site managers this question, which is probably a common question, all of our answers are going to be a bit unique. But
Great.
Like you said, we're both from Baytown. I grew up along the ship channel. Most everyone I knew, their families worked. Their work was associated with the ship channel in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
So the chemical industry was not uncommon to me. I started in the industry, actually worked contract maintenance during summers. I worked for, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but a contract maintenance company. I was an electrician's helper during the summers while I went to college. And then while I was in college, I joined a co-op program, cooperative education, where you work a semester at an owner company, go back and spend a semester in college. So I had quite a bit of insight into the industry before I ever went to work. And my first job was with Arco Chemical in Channelview, Texas. Okay. So that's where I started. I've been with LyondellBasell now, the company that bought Arco Chemical many years ago. But I have been with the same company or predecessor companies for 35 years. And as you would guess, before I became a site manager, I worked at many of our company locations in many different roles, mainly technical operations, maintenance type roles. But one thing that might be a bit unique is I stayed in this area. I'm a local person from Baytown. Arco Chemical / LyondellBasell, over the years has had 7 or 8 manufacturing sites in the Houston Ship Channel area. I've worked at most of them. These are some of our larger sites. We have many different technologies, and so it was a great way to learn many technologies, work at some of our largest plant sites to really understand people dynamics and large group dynamics. Sure. And 35 years later, I am the site manager at our LaPorte manufacturing site, and I also have responsibility for the company's pipeline assets. So we have a pipeline network that basically extends from the Corpus Christi area to Mont Belvieu and many places in between. So in addition to being the site manager at LaPorte, I have the company's pipeline assets. In addition to that, I guess maybe a couple other things is sure. I like you said, I do serve as a director with the Economic Alliance, Port of Houston region, great organization. I'm very impressed by what the organization does. And then I also serve as the chairman of the Texas Chemistry Alliance, which is a group of about 400 companies, maybe 10 owner companies, but then other companies that service the chemical industry,
sure.
Either
suppliers,
design equipment, manufacture equipment, do contract maintenance, but support the chemical industry.
Right.
Because I'll probably say this often, we are all in this together. It's a great industry, and it takes many great people that work in many different jobs and functions to make it all go.
Sure. So you mentioned something that I thought was maybe unique, maybe not these days, but or it certainly didn't used to be as unique as it is today. But 35 years. What's kept you there? Certainly through acquisitions, you've done a couple different roles. What's kept you at LyondellBasell for 35 years?
Well, I think the chemical industry does wonderful things. That's my belief. I think we do good things for humanity. When you think about, the products that we use every day, people use every day, sure. Society uses.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if it's the vehicle you drive in, it doesn't matter where you live, your house, your apartment, or where you live. If you look at the tags on the clothes you wear, when you'll see a natural item, you'll see cotton often, right. But Many of the items are synthetic, or any of the items you purchase from stores, they're packaged in the packaging. But most of the materials that people touch, are not just raw materials.
Sure.
Dirt, rock, water.
Right.
They're synthetic. And the chemical industry is the industry that manufactures or produces these materials that make people's lives better around the world. And so I truly think we do very good things for society. I'm proud to work in the chemical industry. I work with incredibly talented people,
Sure.
Both with owner companies and non-owner companies, and I think it's a fabulous industry to work in. So, I'll tell you, I've been proud to work in this industry for 35 years.
Great. Your leadership journey, you mentioned you worked at a couple of sites. Are there any highlights or things that were most either profound or influential in your leadership journey with Lyondell? Is there a certain role that, like, man, that really prepared me for people leadership or prepared me to manage multiple sites? Was any spots along the way in the leadership journey that were most, I guess, impactful for your career?
Well, I think, I'll answer your question. Yes. I'm not going to say some of them were event related, some were location related,
Right.
some were just, I have worked for many leaders over the years. I've had many supervisors, and some of them were just watching what I thought other people did well, and sometimes what other people didn't do so well.
Right.
So I'll give you, one example. One of the things I observed with just a very small percentage of managers, but some of them I didn't see very often. And it used to perplex me as an employee of an owner company how infrequently I could see certain people in leadership roles that were at a manufacturing site. So, I formed this opinion, I'll say 30 years ago, and it was that, okay, if I ever make it to that level, I will be present. I will get to the locations around the manufacturing site, to every location where the people work. I'll go see them where they perform their jobs and be present and available so that they have, I can see what they're doing.
Sure.
I'm available if they have questions, but there's not going to be any uncertainty about, who's in the leadership role at the plant and whether they understand, what we're doing, and they're not actively trying to help the workers, help people,
Sure.
Improve their way of conducting their jobs. And so one item was, I try to be present, and that was based on a time in my past when I worked at a site where a manager wasn't present very often.
Sure.
I think the other thing is, being in a leadership role or any role, I think you have to have the utmost integrity. People have to understand that you have their best interest, and not just the company's best interest, but the community's best interest at heart. And that we're actively trying to do the right thing to make not only the company successful, but the community successful, the people successful.
Right.
And integrity is something that I think is the utmost importance. If somebody does not do the right thing, and I'm talking about at work and away from work, people can lose credibility in an instant, and they will not get that back. So I think integrity is an utmost requirement for anyone in a leadership role for any company, whether they work in the chemical industry or any other industry.
Yep.
And then I think, you have to show people that you genuinely care about them, and I mean, you genuinely have to care about them. It's not a show or something that you, a persona you try to create. You have to have, a genuine care about the people. I'm a local person. I grew up here. Most everybody that I knew growing up grew up in this area.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for what people do, but I do care about this area. I want it to succeed. It is, and it's a special area, but we have to, just do everything we can to continue the positive growth in this industry and the evolution of the industry. And when I say evolution, I do believe that the industry is much better at helping people work safely. You can look at our safety statistics.
Certainly.
They have gotten better over time. You can, look at our environmental performance, and with the air quality and water quality continues to improve over time. So we have to, continue with that journey of improvement to show that we care and we're striving to get better, and we're going to keep this economic engine running here in the great state of Texas.
That's right. Well, those are great leadership principles. I think presence may be one that's a little underrated. I think there's some principle of just being present somewhere where they get more comfort with that person. It's like, oh, I trust him or her more because I've seen her more, right? And then you said the authenticity, the care, and the communication, the integrity. I think those are all great leadership characteristics, and probably why you're in the seat you are. So those are very helpful. I hope somebody takes those and uses them in their companies and their organizations. Obviously, a busy guy with a few responsibilities there at LyondellBasell. What's attracted you to do so much with the industry, as well as like with the Economic Alliance, the TCA? First of all, how do you make time for that? And then what motivated you to kind of branch out of doing not just your job, assuming you got family as well, things to do there, commitments? What's motivating you to be involved in this industry? Obviously, you have a love for it. Is that kind of what drove it, or what else? What other reasons or purposes do you have to be involved?
Well, there's many reasons, and I'm going to give you two answers, Zeke. The first answer would be, I'm going to show you. I'm an access badge. This is an example. Okay, the site I work at in LaPorte, 531 LyondellBasell employees. But I can tell you, because of this access badge, last year we had 15,552 non-LyondellBasell personnel entered the site to perform work of some type,
some capacity, right?
Provide good services.
Right.
So, what impact do we have on the community? I think a large impact.
Sure.
I work at a owner company site, but it takes many people to make the site successful. And I can tell you, last year was not a routine year at the site that I'm responsible for. We had some major planned turnarounds. We had many extra people and worked many extra hours. We worked about 4.7 million hours at the site last year.
Wow.
So, these chemical manufacturing sites, they have a much larger impact than the population of company employees. And all of these people that come in and perform work, okay, we know if they live locally, we know if they're from out of state. So, these people, they have an impact on the local community, right? They buy fuel, they buy food, some of them stay in hotels. So that they spend money in the local community, and that's good for the broader area. And, as a person, growing up in this area, but I have relatives in other parts of the United States. And sometimes when I would, as a kid, my whole life, when I go to visit family, and in my case, I have family in Oklahoma and Ohio, Indiana, other states. And, I'm somewhat familiar with the towns where my family members live. And they don't have this big economic engine called the Houston Ship Channel and chemical and refining industry in these areas where I personally visit.
Sure.
Everybody's experience is a bit different. But as a kid growing up locally, my gosh, we have very nice facilities. And I reflect back to some of my extended family grew up. My facilities aren't as nice. And then I look at the community outreach from people that work in the industry. We have some very talented people, and when they spend time at the local schools, and whether it be through mentoring or participating in events, helping students learn, helping, and it's not just students at the elementary, middle school, high school. It's also at the local junior college,
right.
Whether it be San Jacinto or Lee College in Baytown. We help people understand how to interview, help them understand what their needs are in industry. We're paying dividends to the local area, and that's good for everyone that lives in this area. I believe. And we should spend time in the communities to make the whole area better for everyone. We want to be good stewards of the community, and we have talented people, and we expect our people to contribute and participate.
Right. Great answer. And I think we certainly have the work. We have talked a lot on this show about workforce shortages. So the more you can get out in that community and I don't want to say sell, but promote this industry, whether it be the owner companies, the contractors, the suppliers, the vendors. There's as you mentioned earlier, there's so many layers to our industry and our area here, geographic area. I think it is almost incumbent upon us to be out in the community, whether it's the beautiful CPET Center, the LyondellBasell Center there, San Jac, or Elite College in Baytown, like you said. Is there anything specific around outreach that you or your team or some folks at Lyondell are doing to attract more folks to our industry, whether it be construction or the owner-operator's side of things specifically?
Well, we're involved with the schools.
Okay.
I'm a former student of Lee College. I'm a former student of San Jacinto Junior College.
Okay.
So I attended both of the local junior colleges. But we are
awesome.
active, helping students understand what the requirements are that industry is looking for. And it's not just the company I work for, LyondellBasell. The other owner companies are doing the exact same thing.
Sure.
But, we talk about the merits of the industry to people and talk about the good things we do for society. And then we help give feedback to the colleges and we even also at the high school level about the needs that we have going forward as an industry. And then we're helping to hopefully prepare the workers of the future to be ready to come in and work at these facilities. We do most of our work is local, in this area.
Sure.
We're not all over the country, so to speak. But we try to help the school programs to evolve and to grow too. There's much partnership with the local junior colleges and schools.
Is there anything you'd like to see more of from the schools, the high schools, the districts, if I'll give a shout out to our alma mater district, Goose Creek, or some of the community colleges, that they could do more for the industry and help you guys?
Well, no, I think they're doing a great job.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything extra that they have to do. I think, and I'll say, we want to develop the workforce of the future, but also this won't change either. Whenever we do, hire people, there's going to be extensive training once they're hired to onboard them to our specific requirements. And then some of it's going to be, company consistent across the company. Some will be specific to the locations where they go to work.
Have you found in your interactions or just talking to obviously involved in some industry organizations, and I'll give you my 2 cents on this, but have you found that the narrative has changed with the parents about our industry, that it's not this dangerous? It is hard work, of course. Every job can be hard. Have you seen the narrative change? This can be a very lucrative career. It's actually, they're extremely safe environments comparatively to other industries, things like that. Have you seen that change a little bit, or are you still seeing some pushback?
Well, no, I think people, whether the new workers or their families, they do view the industry as being safe. And there's so much data that shows that.
Sure, of course.
To give you an example, I sat through a local meeting maybe 6 weeks ago. It was the LaPorte Citizens Advisory Council annual update on worker safety.
Okay.
And, they show the trends of the 41 manufacturing sites in the LaPorte geographic area.
Okay.
And how the safety performance has improved over the entire time that organization has kept and reported data. But they also show an interesting, one slide that shows how the chemical industry performance compares to other, lines of work. And, it shows that, if you're a veterinarian, there's a higher probability you will be injured. If you work at a school, there's a higher probability that you will be injured.
Wow.
The only job that they had on the list that they shared that is safer is accounting. An accounting firm has a lower TRI or injury rate
Paper cuts about it.
than the chemical industry.
Right,
And
right.
we've come a long way as an industry. We're not perfect,
Sure.
and we continue to to work to get better. And that's collectively with all the companies that work in this industry. But we do a pretty good job.
No, and that was my 2 cents. I think I've seen that. There was a survey out a few years ago that parents' number one choice for their kids coming out of school was still college, and we're out here saying college is great. We all went to college, great. But I came out of college with some significant debt.
Yes.
We can go do an apprenticeship program somewhere and earn while you learn. And then perhaps that company, a Lyondell or a contractor, will pay for that college later on. If you want to take some sort of undergraduate or graduate program to get into leadership or whatever, you get it paid for. So instead of going at, into $40,000 of debt at some large university right out of school, you're making money and you can, whether that's start a family at that point or pay off some debt or help your family have maybe struggling circumstances. So I think I really want that message from our industry to get out there to the parents and the kids students, I should say, not kids, but students coming out of school to say this is an extremely lucrative industry no matter what you want to do. And there's so many paths you can take. It's not somebody told me once that the career ladder can often be a greasy pole, but I think here it's a lattice, right? You can move over here, then here, and I think that may be similar to your journey to your current role. So I'm glad to hear you say that because I think I'm hearing the same thing, that narrative seems to be shifting. It's obviously one of the safest environments you can work, and it sounds a bit crazy to say, but there's been so much work done to ensure that, right? Whether it's contractor, whether it's the guy driving a truck of material into the site every day, or someone manning the front desk. So
yes,
I think that's great. As we hit home stretch, is there anything you mentioned some astronomical and awesome statistics about your site last year? Any highlights of your site or LyondellBasell overall that you want to share? Things that are happening that you're particularly proud of so far this year?
Well, so far this year, we're at the day's April 1st, right? So we're 3 months into the year. So, highlights for the broader company, or
it's
just
up to you. Yeah, anything you're particularly proud of. It can be your site, of course, or sites.
Well, I think that the local sites. I think we're performing well from an occupational safety point of view. We haven't had many injuries, which is always good. Safeties are always our top priority.
Sure.
We have executed some good projects, at some of the local sites. So making some modifications to some of the manufacturing units to further improve them. So that's good. So the company's off to I'll say a good start this year, but it's a challenging year for the chemical industry. And it's been very interesting. We started in not just LyondellBasell, but I would say the industry in general, and every company is different. But the general theme, I believe, at the beginning of the year was, business was going to be a bit challenging. And we've seen some significant, we'll say world impacts this year.
Headwinds, if you will.
Well, yes. One of them is, the what's going on in Iran right now. Now, that has made improvements to the business conditions for the United States, if you will, state of Texas. Not good for other parts of the world.
Sure.
Not good for Europe or Asia. So we've seen some changes. I think the U.S. units, by and large, for the industry, are probably operating at very high rates at the moment.
Okay.
And but that's not due to a structural change that companies have made. That's due to a situation that's evolving in another part of the world.
Sure.
And I, personally don't like to see wars anywhere. So,
sure.
But the year, it's going to be an interesting year, Zeke. And, we'll just have to wait and see how the rest of the year plays out. I won't make any bold predictions.
No economic predictions from you today, Mark.
No, none from me.
That's a safe bet.
But what I will say is, and I think this is a fair comment, for the manufacturing sites, here in the Houston Ship Channel, we're going to control what we have control over, which, we're going to do our best to stay safe. We're going to continue to try to deliver very good environmental performance and, produce our products to help our companies and the local area and society. And we will do our best to stay focused on that mission, regardless of what takes place elsewhere around the world. And because I do think that the United States is definitely a low-cost production region in the world. So I think there's a very, very high probability we're going to be asked to produce at high rates for the industry, and we're going to in the United States, and we're going to
pick up the slack from
do our best to do that.
Certainly. Well, like you said, this economic engine, I think, has been prepared for that at all times, right? We're ready for it. We've got the people, we've got the infrastructure. So I hate, like you said, hate that it's because of certain circumstances, but we're prepared to step up when needed, right?
That's right.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time. I know like you got all these other commitments that you could be doing, so you're making time for us here at the Alliance and the podcast. So we really appreciate it, and great to catch up with you and hear your insights as always. So thanks again for being with us.
Okay. Well, Zeke, thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm truly honored to be here, and I really appreciate your time.
You bet.
Your time is just as important.
You bet. I appreciate that very much. Guys, if you think this episode could impact anybody, please, as we always ask, pay it forward. Send it to somebody who would love to hear some of this great leadership wisdom from one of our local leaders that's been in our industry pretty much since he was a kid, been around our industry. So we'd appreciate that. And otherwise, we will see you next time. Thanks.